If you're cold, chances are so is your pet. There is an ordinance in the city of Huntsville that makes leaving your pet outside without a moisture-proof or wind-proof shelter unlawful. If this kind of treatment is reported, an officer from Huntsville Animal Services will come out and decide if the animal is being mistreated or not. Generally, the inside of the shelter should be maintained above 40 degrees and below 90 degrees. If you see something, say something. Visit rocketcitynow.com to find out who to call if you feel an animal is being unfairly treated in these conditions.